questions or anything? Or feedbacks or comments?
Do you actually go into the person's body when you actually work?
There is no body.
Okay, so
there's only me.
There is,
and there's only you. So it gets wacky. But see, the wackier you go with it, the better response there is. So why would I prevent nobody out there from experiencing it by limiting it, by defining it too much? And yet, that said, I can define it, but if I stay outside of the definition, then I can define it. So yeah, we can define it all we want, and yet we just know that there's more outside of that frame. So again, we're looking for ways to not be trapped by it, and yet make some sense to somebody on some level. Okay, so ultimately we don't know who we are, but that's the fun of it. But otherwise we might think we're this blue rainbow or green or this or that or our thoughts, or we'll just sort of edit ourselves. Or we'll delete this because it's good or bad or somebody said so, and so forth and so on and so forth and so on. And then we're like, oh, okay, this is fun. Wow, this is eternal. Doesn't really matter, does it? Yeah. So that those glimpses of that starts to kick in, and it starts to go wider and wider. So it's not I want. It's like, okay, what's going to happen? Oh, that sounds fun. And yet, I don't know if anybody's life is predestined to some degree. It doesn't. Again, who knows? So it remains a mystery. We don't want to know what we're going to get for Christmas anyway, right?
That's great.
Right? Lump of coal, right? So, no, it's not going to make any sense at all. And yet, things will start to open. And don't be worried about life not whacking you in the face, because it will. But again, we'll just do some cosmic jujitsu with it anyway. We just go, boom, oh, let's turn it around. Oh, okay. Yeah, so we'll get better at getting this and turning it around, 360 again. And if you can turn a little wee bitty thing 360 and it changes, you can, size kind of doesn't matter. Yeah, and yet it might take more feedbacks, more confidence, more time, more vibration, who knows. So on some level it's possible, and for whoever who is maybe motivated to or authentically interested in it, you start to step through the door. You don't come to the door, you step through the door. Kind of a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a huge difference between intellectually entertaining it as opposed to starting to retrieve it and experience the experience of having, quote, retrieved that power that kind of hanging around somewhere.
Yes. Available to everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If you have the antenna for it.
Mm-hmm.
If you build the antenna for
Mm-hmm.
it.
So it's like pouring some concrete, building a foundation. And it includes a whole lot of things, so it can get a little complicated, but we've got to start somewhere. Yeah? But we start with our issues, because that's what's in our face. Anything else?
I wanted to ask you, as this work was coming to you, because it sounds like you were a chiropractor and moving along being a chiropractor and thinking maybe that was your path in life, and then something shifted that, and this started to come. Can you talk about that kind of moment?
Let's see. No, there was not one moment. It was just dragged out throughout my whole life.
Words. I know. It's so hard to...
It was like slow torture. And yet, it's just, on the surface everything is good, but there's this, everybody has this heaviness here. And I wasn't about to let it go. I just kind of go, what the hell is that? And I wasn't in distress, I wasn't depressed, I wasn't in despair, although I might have been. And everybody is. Yeah? And yet, as soon as I started tackling this, all my stuff fell away and fell apart. And that was fun too, because it gave me more distress. And and yet I started to translate it on some level. Okay? And then you go like, wow, this is neat. So on one level, you wanted to hang on and save your life. And on another hand, you're like, okay, I ain't gonna save it, I'm gonna watch it crash. So again, it takes a bit of nuttiness to do it, for whatever reason you decide to. But many people do it, and many people won't, or many people can, on whatever level it starts to happen. Because I can definitely say, do it. And yet, I can't promise it's gonna change in a year, but it will start to change. See, what will get you is gravity and time. So we're starting to monkey with that. Yeah, and of course, as to, I won't comment anymore on that, but it starts to become monkeyable with. You start to be able to mess with it. It's just to drag your thought feeling down into or as the body. So it's not mind over matter, it's not mind into matter, it's mind as matter, or consciousness as mind, consciousness as body, consciousness as spirit. So things start to look. What happens is there's this bioplasticity that happens in that which appears to be the body. So it's not so solid and unchanging. And it definitely involves emotion and all that and all that and all that.
Is there a way you can work with people with dementia?
I would work with anybody, but we're not working with dementia, we're just working with somebody. Yeah. So they would appear to have it and they would appear to get better or not get better. So again, that would be in the healing. They would be playing the healing in the illusion. They would be playing part of the illusion as a healer and a sick person. So we're not doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
Same as a whole
Yeah,
person.
yeah. So I would work with them if it showed up in my sector of the universe, or if I was motivated to. So it's what I would be authentically motivated to do, or what seems like a fun potential.
What do people report after sessions?
It varies. It varies. I get some kind of feedback. Go ahead.
I just thought it was really interesting when people would say, I feel like I need to get back in my body because they're so spaced out. And Andrew had said something like, no, you didn't ever leave your body. You're adjusting or integrating.
Well, actually, most people, they keep saying that I can leave my body, but they never went into the body. Yeah, but there is no body to go into anyway. But as far as a way to explain it, yeah, when you're in your body, it's very fun. When you're not in your body, it tends to be a little not fun. It's like, okay, hello, stop running beside the car or pushing it or dragging it, jump in, kind of like that. Then you can kind of get around, and then you go to the next thing. Because people are not in there. If you're in your body, you tend to have more control over it. And yet, we always digress when we go there. And yet, the common pattern is that I'll leave my body, or it's stuck in my body, but no, you never let the experience enter your body. You're holding it in your mind. So the body contracted to it, because you judged it, so the body contracted to it. If I judged anything or considered it or had an opinion about it, oh, suddenly contract. But that's the model that I'm working with. What's your favorite color, Dad? I don't have one. Because I'll contract, and I'm not going to answer you. Yeah, so I'm working with the same thing that I suggest people do. I'm feeling the cadence of my breath change. I'm feeling the sensation, and I'm feeling the position that naturally comes. Yeah, so I'm like a freestyle dancer or a free-form fighter. I don't have this little routine. But again, you can start with a routine. I'm not saying that you don't. Yeah, because we all learn from either instruction or gnosis. It's called gnosis. And you just kind of know. You just start to drop in. And yet we all start with some kind of instruction on some level anyway. And then then it's like Tetris. They start dropping in on you. And yet if we're not moving along, then it tends not to be fun. We have stress here and we have tension here. And we can have more severe names for that. But again, I figure generally we have a degree of stress and a degree of tension. So we're doing everything not to have it by trying to manipulate this. And yet it doesn't work. It cannot work. It can work to a degree under certain conditions and temporarily. And again, it is still becoming what you're able to become. And it's not limited and it's not restricted. So wherever the restriction is, we'll go there to retrieve our unlimitedness. And that would be the basic meat and potatoes. See, it's just the basic meat and potatoes. You just love it for that moment. You can love it for that moment. It's always loving it in that moment. And when you don't, then you've contracted. And yet you can't unless you're expanded. See, so it goes a little wacky there. And when you're not expanded, then you're supposed to say affirmations and think good thoughts. But that can't work. It's impossible. So now you're going to say, what the heck is that? So now you're going to have to open yourself up, and then you can pour all the goodies in because it's helpful at that time because you believe it. Not as in belief, but you're experiencing it. So you're kind of convinced of it, and you become confident in that approach to life. So it's still the suspensions of our own freeness when we choose not to do that. So it's still a choice of freeness. But again, it's really not, but it is on some level, on another. Okay, thank you everybody for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Keela.